Today I will be giving a presentation on my chosen organization, the Department of Veterans Affairs, also known as the VA. This presentation has been put together to provide information on the VA's Information Security Program to include findings and recommendations. This is my final project to fulfill course requirements for CSIA 412 Security Policy Analysis, Summer Semester 2015. My instructor, Professor Jared Sharp. This presentation was completed on 11 July 2015. My name is Shamar. Let us begin. Our agenda for today, we'll be going over legislative impact on the VA, information security standards on the VA cybersecurity profile and what that all entails. And then I will conclude with a summary of this presentation to include a listing of all references that were used here. In this portion of the presentation, I will be going over some legislative impacts that can affect the Information Systems Program of the VA. I will be discussing the Federal Information Security Management Act, also known as FISMA, and the Health Insurance Portability and Accountability Act, also known as HIPAA. All federal agencies fall under the FISMA guidelines, which is a comprehensive framework to protect government information, operations, and assets against natural or man-made threats. With protecting the privacy of individuals' identifiable health information, HIPAA's primary goal of the law is to make it easier for people to keep health insurance, protect confidentiality and security of healthcare information. FISMA requires federal agencies to implement a mandatory set of processes and system controls designed to ensure confidentiality, integrity, availability, and system-related information. This process and system controls in each federal agency must follow established federal information processing standards issued by the National Institute of Standards and Technology Standards and other legislative requirements pertaining to federal information systems, such as the Privacy Act of 1974. The VA has an obligation to safeguard the data we hold on veterans. VA constantly refines its ability to protect veteran information. And also, the VA employs progressive security measures to protect data and secure the VA network and its information technology or IT systems. FISMA 2013 audit of the VA identified significant deficiencies related to access controls, configuration management controls, continuous monitoring controls, and service continuity practices designed to protect mission-critical systems. The result concluded that the VA had not fully implemented security control standards on all servers and network devices. Further, the VA has not remediated approximately 6,000 outstanding system security risks in its corresponding plans of action and milestones to improve its overall information security posture. FISMA recommended the executive in charge for information technology implement comprehensive measures to mitigate security vulnerabilities affecting VA mission-critical systems to address annual reporting requirements and ongoing system security weaknesses. VA launched a Continuous Readiness and Information Security Program, also known as CRISP, in 2012, implementing an IT governance risk and compliance tool to improve processes for assessing, authorizing, and monitoring the security posture of VA systems. VA recently updated its VA Handbook 6500 to provide guidelines on how to comply with the revised risk management and requirements. Under the HIPAA Act, healthcare providers are to develop and implement a privacy policy, train employees on policies and procedures, appoint an official to oversee these policies, and safekeep of all patient records only to those who are authorized to access them. Two commonly used rules that your practice should know about under HIPAA legislation is the security rule and the privacy rule. Safeguarding patient information is essential to the well-being of any healthcare practice. Violations under HIPAA laws can result in civil and criminal penalties that can easily incur fines. Next, I will explore the security standards of the Department of Veterans Affairs. We will identify the federal agency standards and compare and contrast that standard to another in regards to information security. The Department of Veterans Affairs is a federal agency that is required to follow the Federal Information Processing Standards, or FIPS 200 standard. However, With that in mind, there are also global standards such as International Organization and Standardization, also known as ISO 27002, that is used outside of the United States but may be found similar in some areas but not a required standard for the VA to follow. Federal Information Security Management Act, or FISMA, tasks NIST with the responsibility of developing security standards and guidelines for the federal government. FIPS Publication 200 was the second of mandatory security standards. The minimum security requirements covered 17 security-related areas with regard to protecting the confidentiality, integrity, and availability of federal information systems and information processed, stored, and transmitted by those systems. The minimum security requirements cover 17 security-related areas with regard to protecting the confidentiality, integrity, availability, and federal information systems and information processed, stored, and transmitted by those systems. These 17 areas represent a broad-based, balanced information security program that addresses the management, operational, and technical aspects of protecting federal information and information systems. The VA must develop and promulgate formal documented policies and procedures governing the minimum security requirements. The processes of selecting the appropriate security controls and assurance requirements for organizational information systems to achieve adequate security is multifaceted, risk-based activity involving management and operational personnel within the organization. Security categorization of federal information and information systems are required by FIPS Publication 199 is the first step in the risk management process. The selected set of security controls must include one of three appropriately tailored security control baselines from NIST Special Publication 800-53, which consists of the low impact, moderate impact, or high impact categories. The International Organization for Standardization 27002 is the international standard that refers to the code of practice for information security management and is intended as a common baseline and everyday guideline for developing organizational security standards and actual management practices. The ISO 27002 provides guidelines and best practices recommendations for 10 security domains ranging from security policies and business continuity management to compliance. It is also divided into two categories, clauses and control categories. FIPS 200 and the ISO 27002, both standards can be used for the identification of system risk. A not so similar approach of the two is FIPS 200 standard, which requires specifications of baseline set because it utilizes the FISMA framework. ISO 27002 does not use such a notion, and the entire control set to a system is driven by the risk management process. Now let's take a look at the VA cybersecurity profile. We will take a look at the System Security Plan, also known as SSP. It is a proposed plan to protect and control the information system, or a plan that is already in implementation. It is usually created using the organization IT environment security policy as the benchmark. Then we will review NIST Special Publication 800 TAC 53 Alpha Revision 4 assessing security and policy controls in federal information systems and organizations, and discuss some of the family controls and enhancement controls that are outlined under the management, operational, and technical controls. One effective component of the NIST framework is the cybersecurity profile, which all federal organizations such as the Department of Veterans Affairs must implement for their system security plan. The cybersecurity profile component enables organizations to align and improve cybersecurity practices based on their individual business needs, tolerance, risk, and available resources. The system security plan will be part of the certification and accreditation package submitted to and approved by the certifier and the designated approving authority, DAA, who will authorize the system to operate. In addition to the security controls described in the NIST Special Publication 800 TAC 53, it provides a set of information, security program management controls that are typically implemented at the organizational level and not directed at individual organizational information systems. It provides a set of privacy controls and also establishes a linkage and relationship between privacy and security controls for the purpose of enforcing respective privacy and security requirements. There are three main controls that are founded under the system security plan, and the first one of them is the management controls. It also has the planning controls, which is a family control located under the management section. It focuses on security plans for systems and is also cover rules and behaviors of users. All right. The system security plans and rules of behavior are control enhancements that also fall under these controls. Now, VA's policy concerning these is that the SSP is that every information system must be included and covered. Organizations considered rules of behavior based on individual user roles and responsibilities. Next, we talk about the operational controls. Personal security controls is a family control located under the operational controls section. The control includes screening, termination, and transfer personnel. Personal security policy and procedures, along with personal sanctions, are control enhancements that align under the personal security control. The policy and procedures reflect applicable federal laws, executive orders, directives, regulations, policies, standards, and guidance. VA's policy is that the risk designation is properly assigned to all federal and contractor positions. Personal sanctions apply to the process of the sanctions within an organization applicable to federal laws. VA's policy is all about operating elements will comply with proper corrective actions. Last, we talk about technical controls. One of these controls that fall under technical controls is access controls that the VA does use. It is a family control located under the technical controls section. Under access control, organizations must limit information access to unauthorized users, processes acting on behalf of authorized users or devices. Remote access along with wireless access are control enhancements that align under these access controls. Remote access addresses the access to organizational information systems either by authorizing the user through communication process or external networks. The VA's policy is that sensitive information may not be transmitted via internet or VA's internal network without proper security mechanism that has to meet the FIPS 140-2 criteria. Wireless access tells organizations to create usage restrictions, configuration connection requirements, and implementation of guidance for wireless access. The VA is concerned wireless access devices can pose a significant security risk, so the VA has instituted the FIPS 140-2 staging encryption of information transmitted to and from a wireless device is required, or an appropriate waiver has to be approved by the CIO. In summary, we discussed the legislative impact on the VA, which consisted of the FISMA's guidelines and the HIPAA Act of 1996. We also talked about information security standards of the VA, which we did a compare and contrast of the FIPS Plus 200 and the ISO 27002 and went into detail with those. And we also broke down the VA cybersecurity profile, which we also discussed the system security plan in the NIST special publication 853 TAC Alpha, and some of the breakdowns of how their program is centered around the system security plan. At this time, this will conclude my presentation for the VA's information security program. If you follow along, you will see some of the references that were used to complete this presentation. Thank you.